That's right. Next up on the list is Pax Dei, otherwise known as Pax Pay at this point.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
A successful open beta. Really, the beta went kind of crazy. Asmongold jumped in. I mean, it actually looked really good. I was skeptical before the beta, but I saw it. I watched all the videos. I thought, you know what? I could really play this game, and we
Right.
could build some bases. The graphics
Sure.
looked amazing, actually. Unreal, of course, hitting like it always does, and so Unreal 5. So I don't know. It was a super cool beta. Scott,
Yeah.
you saw the beta. Is that something? It seemed like too they were going to try to really merge the MMO and survival, which I know is what you have been interested
Yeah.
in. So I know PAX was on your radar at least after that, right?
It was. I think I said in another video that's almost the first prototype of how this shift is going to happen.
Mm.
So it was almost like a test run for me. Like, okay, here we go. Right? Like what I predicted is coming to fruition. I'm ready to see how it pans out. But
Yeah.
what do we got?
But there's a big
Yeah.
but now. But after that, right after the
Yeah.
beta, the developers they did a few interviews with some creators. They may have talked to Asmongold. I know they talked to Narc, who covers a lot of Ashes of Creation stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of good information. The game, everything was trending positive. They didn't talk about monetization in those videos because they said they hadn't figured it out yet, which, after this most recent blog post seems kind of unlikely. All right. So the blog post, a lot of people were saying, okay, they're going to redo the combat. That's going to be awesome. What's the monetization going to be? Let us know. Let us have it, right? So let me read what they dropped for the monetization so we can really figure out how we're going to spend our money on this game, right?
Yes.
We're gonna
and we're
have-
all doing it. Come on. You
We
know
all
it's going to
will.
happen. All right.
Yes.
Come on. Even you, Scotty. Come on now.
I don't like you.
You're going to
We
swipe
have-
right on Pax Pay. I'm telling you.
We have Pax PayPal. We have the box cost. The box cost, of course, normal.
Yeah.
We have a sub fee, but it's optional. Don't worry. But wait, the whole point of the game is to build your home and your bases. So without the sub fee, you actually can't own land and build things. So not so optional, it seems like.
Oof.
Then they're going to have the cosmetic cash shop. Every game has it. Why not? Then they're going to have, yes, there's more. The WoW token system, the Plex system, right? Where you can earn your sub in game, all that kind of good stuff. Good stuff. Instead of having to argue about which you like best, Scott and Coltrane, you just have all the monetization, right?
Throw it all in there. Yeah.
Why not?
Throw it at the wall and see what sticks, right? That's just.
And so I'll give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt, right? This is early days. I'm sure they're going to hear the feedback, but it kind of gets us into this deeper conversation about where monetization is going with MMOs these days. Because really, if we look at a lot of our traditional MMOs, they have almost all of these, monetization models built in. At this point, Coltrane, is it just a foregone conclusion? We're going to have a box cost, a sub fee, a cash shop. Is that just the way it's going to go from now on?
I think that people pay for it. And these MMOs, they've got to pay their employees. They've got to pay their devs, and they need stable income. They got to project. They've got investors. I think a great thing about a sub fee, Yoshi P was saying this about Final Fantasy 14. He can project how much they're going to make. Through that, they can hire developers. They can find out how much they're going to need. With a cash shop type thing, it's up and down. You're going to have as new armor gets released, new weapons, you're going to get a bump. Then it's going to drop. But at the end of the day, I hate to say it, it is a business. And the reason all of these microtransactions exist is because they work. We may not like them. We may hate them. Look, the guy at Pirate Software, worked at Blizzard for years. And he worked on StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. He said that the Sparkle Pony that World of Warcraft made that sold for $15 in the shop made more money than all of StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty combined.
Mm.
So that's the thing. It
Insane.
makes money. It works. And that's
Yeah.
why we keep seeing it, and that's why we're going to continue to see it. In regards to Pax Day, my thinking is this. They literally threw everything at the wall, and I think they really are looking for feedback because they're like, let's just put everything out there and let's
Mm.
see how people react. Let's see what are the top things that people have issues with and go down from there. But like the WoW
Mm.
token, it's the WoW token. It's in World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? Plex, in Eve, the cash shop, all of these microtransactions, they all work. They
Mm.
work. And as much as we don't like them, these companies, they need to make money. If they're not going to do a sub, they've got to find a way to get money some other way. And Pax Pay, they're just doing them all right now. But I really do think that it's just let's throw it all against the wall, see what people react to, that type thing. But
Yeah, it's almost like a push it right over the edge, and then when you find
yes.
that, just pull it back a little bit,
And
kind of
then
a
you
thing.
look like heroes. Think about it. If you hit them with all the bad news at the beginning, and then you
Right.
come back and go, guys, listening to feedback, you're right. We're going to remove this and this. And they're only going to remove like two things, but everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is great. Pax Pay is now Pax Day. You've saved the Pax Day. They're going to be loved. They're going to be loved. However, if they went with like some minor stuff and then added, then, oh my God, everyone would hate them. So if you think about it, it's pretty genius. They're going to come out on
Mm.
top here when they pull stuff back.
Mm.
Something to
Yeah,
consider.
and yeah, I mean, PAX Payday, that's a whole nother story. But Scott,
Yeah.
I mean, just all the talk of monetization, right? And we have tons of games right around the corner, and we
Yeah.
don't have any information right now. Ashes has given us a glimpse. They said they're going to do a submodel only. I don't, you may pay for expansions. I don't think they've got that far yet. So that could be in the works, but there's no box cost to get into the game. Right now, at this moment in time, what is your preferred monetization style if you had to pick, and some of the reasons why you would lean that way?
I'm always gonna go with sub
Mm.
fee. Just a box cost and then a sub fee.
Mm.
Um, I think that for the overall long term health of the game and for the just engagement of players, that is the best route to go. It worked for the longest time for WoW. It worked for
Mm.
the subsequent MMOs, aside from Guild Wars. But Star Wars went with the same model when it first came out, and it delivers, I think, content at a steady pace. It gives people like they're invested into the game. Like I bought into
Mm.
it.
Mm.
I'm gonna play it. I know Chase in another video has said it makes him feel like he has to play, and I can see where that would come into. I get that a little bit, but I think it's more of when you spend your money on something, you're doing it because you're saying I'm willing to invest into this and put time into it. And I think we're seeing the flip side or the dark side of that is when you start introducing other systems to make money, like a cash shop, like a
Mm.
WoW token. You just it diminishes the overall experience, and then and then the developers realize that I can make a lot more money this way.
Mm.
And then over time it hurts the game because why earn an outfit? You can just buy it.
Scott, I think I tend, okay, in a perfect world,
Mm.
I agree with you. And Coltrane hit on it too. With a sub fee, you know there's a steady stream of income for the studio, right? Your assumption is that money is going to the development of new content on a regular cadence, right?
Right.
Also, the hope, at least in back in the day, was okay, my sub fee is getting me everything in the game, right? There's
Mm.
no need for
Yeah.
microtransactions because the sub fee covers everything. And it then takes out the problem of a cash shop because now the developers can develop all the cool items and skins and armor pieces in game, right? We don't need to
Yeah.
supplement it with a cash shop and it won't cheapen. But I think over time we've seen, like Coltrane said, they're willing to put in whatever people are willing to spend their money on. So
Yeah.
Yes.
the cash shop, is almost a staple now. It seems to be here to stay, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so it is diminishing some of the things you can earn in game. It just is what it is, and it is taking development time from the game to make these
Hmm.
cool things to go in the cash shop. Right?
True.
It is what it is. Now maybe you're Blizzard and you have enough money to have a different set of developers for every single section of the game, and it's not really
Yeah.
taking from the in-game stuff. So that would be fair. My only pushback a little, and this again, this is not because I don't want sub fee to be the way to go. I do. But I think now, really, what is the last successful sub game, not World of Warcraft, that you can remember? Either of you.
I
Final Fantasy
guess
14.
Okay, Final
That's still
Fantasy
going
14.
very strong, very strong. Yeah,
Final Fantasy 14, which was what, 2014 when that came out, when they redid
something like
somewhere
that.
around
Yeah,
there. Okay.
yeah.
Star Wars Old Republic went free to play. There is an optional sub that
Yeah.
gets you some stuff. A lot of the Korean ones have optional subs, but they don't require it. Most are free to play. And so I guess my point is that I feel like this is a legacy MMO standard. And not that it's necessarily legacy. If you look at WoW and you look at Final Fantasy 14, you're talking about two massive, like, well-known IPs, right?
Yeah,
Like, people are like, I will put my money towards that IP. That's good. But I think when you have a new IP coming out, which is a little bit why I'm worried about Ashes of Creation, I think people are a little hesitant and they might say, well, why isn't this free to play? Why can't I jump in and see if I like this first? The sub fee can be a barrier to entry. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Star Wars: The Old Republic. Recently, I got back into that with your help there, Tom. And
Nice.
getting back into Star Wars, and it's free to play. There's no sub fee, but I wanted to pay the sub because I wanted to support the developers, and I wanted to run more than 2, dungeons a week. I mean, come on. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean,
you also don't get
it's a
squat
week.
for not,
Yeah, exactly.
not being
I
sub.
mean,
That's
come
the
on,
real
right?
problem.
Right.
It's
Well,
true.
and like
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls
Optional.
Online,
Yeah.
Elder
Yeah.
Scrolls Online, that's a real
Mm.
classic one. Game is
Yeah.
incredible. Great MMO. It's way better now than it's ever been. But if you sub, you get this kind of unlimited inventory. All of your
Yeah.
there's so many gatherables in that game. You have to have
Credits.
the sub.
Yeah.
If for something as far as inventory management, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Like, people always joke about ESO. They're like, oh, no, it's like an optional sub, but it's not really
Not
an
really.
optional
I
sub.
just-
I mean, let's be real.
I get the positive arguments for it. I understand it. I see why these companies do it. I just don't think they're thinking it through, because this is the slippery slope that gets us games like The Day Before and now Quinfall. This is what it leads to, because they're
Interesting.
like, we can make money nickel and diamond people like this. So really, let's just make as much as we can and then get out. Like, that's what they want to do. They're not making good quality content because they don't have to anymore. The people are buying these. They've caught on to it, and it's not. I keep saying it, but it is not good for the longevity of the game.
I hear you.
It starts out strong and then it just
Yeah.
goes down.
I hear you, but the issue is a lot of these companies are like publicly traded companies, right? They're beholden to shareholders, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
the monetization is a big deal. What are our projections?
Yeah.
What is our revenue? And so they're looking for ways to push the monetization, which I know you have a lot of trepidation about Ashes, Scott, but I
Yeah.
think this is the one shining light, is that Steven Sharif doesn't need the money. He is an MMO player who is passionate about building a great MMO, right? And so I think
true.
that's why so many people are drawn to that. And maybe Ashes is our last hope when it comes to a monetization model that's fair, because I don't see these other games. It doesn't seem, even the Riot MMO, I'm sure everyone is super passionate about making, who's working on that game. But at the end of the day, the developers are not going to make the decision of how that's monetized.
Yeah.
That's out of their hands. Whereas Blizzard back in the day, when Blizzard first came on the scene, all they wanted to do was make a great game. I wish that it was that simple. Go ahead, Coltrane.
Oh no, it's interesting. I was just thinking about when you mentioned about Blizzard when, back in the day and the timeline of things. MMOs back in the day, and Tom, I think you and I are big MMO veterans, right? I did the EverQuest, Dark Age of Camelot, Star Wars Galaxies, which was still way ahead of its time, by the way.
Yeah,
Star
Scotty
Wars
loves
Galaxies,
Galaxies.
yeah, unbelievable that game.
Yeah.
But everything was a sub. Every single game, MMO back then was a sub. And then I can't remember which one was the first, but then suddenly they were like, it's free to play. Do you remember? I forgot which one it was.
Was it Guild Wars?
Guild Wars was very different, right? Guild Wars was
Well, you had to
the
buy
box.
it. Yeah.
You buy the box, right? There was never going to be a sub. They did have a cash shop, but it wasn't technically free to play at the beginning. Like even to this day, I don't understand how they've done it for so long, because you get so much in that game for the box cost, right? You could never drop a dime on the cash shop. I'm like, how do they keep the lights on? It's kind of amazing. But I think I'm trying to remember, Coltrane, because you're making a great point. Around that time, maybe it was some of the Korean MMOs that were coming into the picture.
Yeah.
There were some real free to play games dropping, but they had some pretty shady monetization, right? I mean, Arcade was a big one. They like the optional sub that's not really optional, and a lot of pay to win features were the free to play ushered in the pay to win for sure. So yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all, not at all. And it's interesting because everything was sub, and then suddenly here comes free to play, and everyone cheered because at that time everyone hated a sub because it was like, oh no, another sub. Like I've already got 3 subs going. I'm already paying. And then now a new game comes out that's going to be another sub. Like I can't afford another sub, or I got to cancel this. I got to cancel that. It's like when we had to delete a game off our Steam library, off our hard drive, because we don't have room to play this next game. Now you got to cancel this sub to try this sub. But everyone at the time hated subs because that's all they were. Then free to play came out. And then suddenly they had this cash shop and there was this uproar. What are these microtransactions? What is this cash shop? And I remember these developers were saying, well, we have to make money somehow. We have to generate income. And now what I'm hearing from Scotty, from Tom as well, and myself, and other content creators as well, we're kind of going back to like, I'd prefer a sub. I want a sub. You know what I mean? I don't want all these cash shops and all this microtransactions. I want to go back to the sub. So it's interesting how it swung. You know what I mean? It was all subs, then it went hardcore free to play, microtransactions, and now I feel like it's kind of starting to swing back into a sub preferred model. So it's just interesting looking at the timeline of MMOs and kind of how they developed and going forward. And we'll see what is the new way. What is this new method that people really like? Is it Ashes of Creation, where pay a sub, you don't have to buy the game at all. Play it, you like it, then show your support for the developers.
I think Ashes is going to be a really interesting test case. In the meantime, I'll just apply for another credit card for when Pax Day comes out.